The Stormbear Druid probably still is the best or one of the best Druid builds out there, and the video could end here, but I want to talk about a couple of things that did actually change and a couple of new options we do have. First of all, the nerfs. The chance on hit to summon a Thorn Totem mod has been removed, it seems, or it is not in the planner anymore, which I didn't find in the patch notes, but it's not there, so it probably isn't in the game either. Which means that Metal of the Pale Ox isn't nearly as good anymore as a defense slayer because, well, you don't have permanent totems anymore that automatically spawn. So the tree also might change a bit due to this, so we will likely not run the totem nodes anymore. But this probably is the biggest nerf. The only other direct nerf that I was able to find was the mana limitation on the Stormbolt skill, which means that we cannot scale our damage infinitely with mana. It caps at 1000 mana, which I wasn't getting anyways. Like, I was getting quite a bit of mana, but I never really was getting more than 1000 mana. So this doesn't impact us at all. Now over to our new toys. The aspects have gotten a buff pretty much through the board. All of them I do think have been buffed, and I wasn't using them a lot before, but getting aspect of the boar could be really valuable right now. Also, there are a lot of changes to the tree, so there might be some new pathing, some different nodes, some other changes, but I have not made a planner yet because I personally prefer to just test it in-game and then later on review of what worked, what didn't, and then make changes on the planner depending on that and not preemptively. But yeah, the tree might change a bit. Overall, the skills haven't received a lot of changes aside from the werebear, but yeah, there I have to see it in game. I want to try it out if we do new werebear pathing for the nodes probably, but we'll see about that. However, the biggest change for the build and the biggest power boost for the build are the new items. For the primordial items, I want to focus on 6 that I want to highlight that caught my attention instantly, and I was like, wow, this is interesting. This is insane, actually. What the fuck is happening here? First of all, Architect of Astral Blood. Well, we lost one body armor and we got a new one. Don't forget, you only can use one of these, so we are taking a look at a couple, but in the end, we'll have to decide which one we want to use. Architect of Astral Blood is a giga cracked version of the Sanguine. We are getting up to 42% of missing health as ward, and this might enable the, or re-enable it. It was possible to do it before, and I have played the build with ward scaling with the Cleaver solution, and this might bring us back to a Cleaver solution variant that goes with a lot of missing health gained as ward and using ward as prime defense. This is a very different variation to the builds I have played in the recent patches, but still should be very, very good, and well, we'll have to see. However, there are other options. Let's take a look at Blossom of the Immortal Stone. Blossom of the Immortal Stone basically gets rid of a lot of resistances, and well, we need to have more armor for that. But especially if you're going with the strength stacking variation, we would have like 15,000 armor anyways, and this amulet also gives armor mitigation that applies to damage over time. So generally armor will be very, very strong this patch if you're running Blossom of the Immortal Stone. Then we do have Legends Entwined. This one is quite interesting because I was tinkering around with sets in the last cycle, and a lot of these sets really are interesting or helpful at some part, but they, well, you need so many pieces for them, and especially the beer set would be really interesting with this ring because we could drop the ring slot, which is very, not the ring slot, because we could drop the glove slot, which I did in favor of the Uberbroth gloves because they are a lot stronger than the set. But now we could run the beer set without the gloves, which is insanely good. So again, Legend Entwined, a lot of new options, but again, I'll have to see in game. I'll have to tinker around with it. I don't want to say you should do this or this with this ring. We'll have to see, but a lot of cool options will arise from this primordial. Then we've got Primal Cadence. This is a two-handed axe, and we were running two-handed staves before as one of the endgame variations, which were very, very good. And while this doesn't provide a lot of direct damage boost, this might be an interesting option for clearing. The build was clearing quite well anyways, but having overkill damage leached is very, very strong for stuff like arenas, and having overkill damage dealt in an area is completely insane. We will have to see how big this area is, and this will decide if this primordial will be our arena clear weapon, because we don't need insane amounts of damage, and also this has up to 275% increase hit damage, which is general. It has all attributes, it has critical damage per strength, and it has critical strike chance flat. Though critical strike chance flat isn't as good because we were crit cap pretty much for free anyways. But yeah, this might be an insanely good clear weapon and maybe push down our arena clears to sub 10 seconds. We will see. But I'm very interested in this weapon. Very, very cool. Last but not least, we've got Spirit Xylem, an actual staff, which gives level to attunement skills, attunement, health and mana per attunement, reduce mana cost for spell skills, reduce health cost, which is irrelevant, more damage to bosses while above half mana, and less damage taken from bosses and rares while below half mana. While not completely crazy, the more damage line is nice. Attunement on a staff is unseen aside from one set staff, which I did try out but wasn't so convinced with, and this gives a lot of damage. 16 attunement is 16 flat damage, which is nice, but I do think this is one of the weaker primordials, honestly. While it might be very cool, it seems to have a lower level requirement, so it might be just one you maybe pick up early and then just use as a strong in-between weapon until you have a strong rare or exalted item, or until you use a different primordial or whatever. And last but not least, the Truesight Glass. The Truesight Truesight Glass gives our crit chance above 100%, deadly strike crits. So we have a 40% chance to deal deadly strike crits, which have an additional 300% damage, critical damage multiplier, which is quite a bit of damage and a lot of damage on the amulet. It does also have up to 50 crit multi, and it does have up to 100 crit avoidance. However, crit avoidance is not as interesting because we are getting crit cap for free more or less due to attunement scaling. But this might be interesting in the strength stacking variation, where you don't get the attunement passive as high as you would want and can then just get the rest of the crit avoidance through the amulet. Also, we don't really have to care about getting our crit chance to 140% because due to the crit scaling through our skill setups, we are basically getting the 140% for free. And the deadly strikes sound like a very good damage boost. So Truesight Glass might be the highest direct damage increase to the build if you want to just run a glass cannon variation where you just go for crit damage. I mean, you don't even have to be glass cannon, but it kind of fits the theme to just, well, go full in with the damage. And that's all I had to say for the build. There still are a lot of other changes, a lot of other things going on, and yeah, this will again be a very, very, very potent starter, a very potent endgame character. You will be able to do arenas up to 1,000 plus waves. You will be able to do arena farming for gold, for items, for experience. This might be the fastest level 100 druid build. And what else? They're saying corruption 1000 isn't really a problem. A friend of mine pushed about 4000 corruption with the build, I do think. And it is fairly easy to do Uber with it when you have some training in the fight. I was doing it fairly consistent later on with the build when I had upgraded my gear to well, decent levels. So yeah, very strong build still, and feel free to start with it. It's a very, very good build. I will link the actual guide to the character itself in this video at the end, or somewhere around me there, I think. And yeah, thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.